Okay, so getting the dial off of this thing was relatively easy. I mean, it had two basically small little pieces of wire that, and I need a nut driver. I don't think I have the correct bit for this particular thing. I may have had to use pliers here to get these nuts loose. But, anyway. Yeah, okay, so the hand removing fiasco was actually so intense that the balance wheel popped out. I used two flat blade screwdrivers to pry on the shaft, and the minute hand came shooting off, hit the ceiling, came back down. This is the ceiling in my garage, by the way, so it's pretty high. Hit the ceiling, came back down, and then landed directly in front of me on the table. And, yeah, so a hand remover would have been nice in this particular scenario. Or just putting a piece of plastic over the hand also would have worked. The hand was not damaged. The hour hand wasn't damaged. No hands were damaged. And, yeah, as I said, with the dial, it was just two little pieces of wire that had heads on it. And, that was just holding the cardboard dial on. So, you can kind of tell that this is a consumer product and not like a horological masterpiece, for lack of a better term. I think you guys know the difference. I think you guys know what I'm also talking about when I say horological masterpiece. Something that some, super expensive, whether a company made it or not, a lot more effort was put into it than this. Yeah, alarm clocks always kind of get the short end of the stick that way. It always seems to be very, very consumer-based. And I guess you don't have to be, I mean, they were trying to suit everybody, right? Like, you don't have to be a clock collector. Oh, and I'm just checking the back of this thing to make sure that there's no writing or anything no one's written in here. Okay. I see. Same with the bell. No one's written in there either. I can only assume that this thing has never been worked on. The hairspring is good. All this stuff is good. Balance staff is good. She's all good. And I completely forgot what I was saying. I've just realized that I've actually taken important bolts out. That was not my intention here. Whoops. Yeah, the movement is slightly falling apart on me here. The escape wheel is out of its pivot. The pallet fork has come out. Yeah, this thing is not riveted together on one side. Both sides have pillar nuts that can completely pop out of place, which is, that's fine, but it's kind of an aneurysm for those of us who actually expect there to be rivets on one side. But there are not, so that is what is going on. And the gear train seems to be jammed up right now. Awesome. Cool. Okay, now we've got two of these back together. Okay, thank goodness this didn't fall apart yet. See, I don't even know what this movement really, how it works or what it looks like or anything, so. Isn't that great? Isn't that great when the whole thing starts falling apart on you and you already have no idea what you're even working on? Okay, let's just put all of this back together here, because this is not what I had in mind. And, we will try and configure this now. Try and understand what I'm looking at here. Okay, so there's, what is this? Looks like an alarm shaft of some kind. Oh yeah, that's probably the alarm setting wheel. This is our pallet fork, of course, with an extra, ooh, this is quite the, wow, that's quite the pallet fork. Look at that bend in the brass. Interesting, okay. And they've got that extra little bridge on top. The escape wheel is in there. Okay, why is this feeling weird? I think, oh, because that's not in correctly, that's why. Yeah, those gears should be free moving, not... Okay, spring is let down, problem solved. Didn't even get over there yet. Yeah, this thing is falling apart in my hands because of this. Okay, let's tighten these back together. That is a huge mainspring. Okay, I wasn't wearing gloves there, but I didn't get cut or anything from that. We've got a nondescript piece of material here that does something. I have a feeling this goes around the balance cup somehow. Oh yeah, okay, that's where this goes. Why is everything falling apart? Okay. Yeah, that's okay. So this goes on top of this, on the regulator, and this has its own thing on this side. Okay. Yeah, I don't know what the purpose of this is. It's like it's a little guard of some kind. Okay. Now, yeah, so there's our alarm setting wheel mechanism. Cool. Our time setting, yeah, so if we spin this around, the gears actually move, so that's cool. We got a big blue gear on here. I don't know what material that is. That's plastic. You know, I thought this thing was super badly corroded there for a second. No, this is actually one singular plastic gear on here. It's probably made of nylon. Just taking a guess. That mainspring is casting a huge shadow over the desk. And that's okay because it's an intermediate wheel. And it really doesn't affect that. Well, it does affect that much. It drives the hour hand, but its workload is fairly light. So we don't have to worry too much about that thing having problems here. So, yeah, a bright blue plastic wheel. Well, this thing really has to be from the 70s then. Really, in actuality, you don't want plastic wheels in your gear train. But if some appear, and I guess this isn't really even part of the... I mean, it's the main gear train, of course, is down here. But if a plastic gear or two appears in your motion work, then, which, of course, is all this stuff up at the front, it's not the end of the world. You know, we can work with that. I don't think I'm even going to clean that gear, though, because it doesn't look dirty. Okay, let's have a look at how everything goes together. So our pallet fork would... Well, first of all, our balance wheel lives over here. Our pallet fork goes here. There's our escape wheel, first wheel, second wheel. There's the center wheel. There's our colossal mainspring. And we've got our alarm train over here happening. We've got our great wheel, escape wheel, this thing here. This is okay. Here's the hammer. I got kind of lost there for a second. This thing does share parts with that Polaris clock, though. Like that balance wheel, the balance cup, that stuff looks like it's out of that same movement. But anyway, this looks like... Oh, this is the button mechanism here. And here's the mainspring. And that's really it. There's not... Well, there's knobs on this side here. Okay, I'm going to take that off now. That is our alarm trip wheel. What the heck? I just realized that. What? This thing doesn't even... Okay, this is a... This movement gets progressively weirder as we go here. They've taken the minute and hour pipe and combined that... Or sorry, the minute hour pipe and the alarm. I have never seen that before. The alarm wheel pipe. They've taken all of those and they've turned that into the... Wow, they've actually turned that into the alarm tripping mechanism. So when that trips... So if I press this down... Yeah, so there we go. Hold on, if I just turn it backwards here. There it is. Okay, it's tripped now. Oh, sorry, this is backwards for this particular design, and I'm knocking the camera over. And I've just discovered a random microscopic brass nut here. Out of nowhere. Don't know where it comes from. I can only assume it comes from this clock. Awesome. Anyway, okay, so yeah, this is all... Okay, where's the alarm spring that lets the hammer do its thing here? Where is that at? How does this thing shut itself off? There's the spring. Okay, there's like a tension spring down there, or through there. And then does it... Oh, okay. I'm trying to see where the, how this interacts with the actual hammer, the alarm hammer here. And I've just found how that all works. This spring leads down here. That spring there. And it goes in, and why is my camera just not cooperating today? Okay, yeah, there's a hammer, there's a tail on the hammer, and this spring, if you can see it, interacts with that. There we go. So that's how it blocks that. Okay. And then the alarm can't ring, and when it's up, the alarm can. So that's how that... Okay, yeah, this movement makes sense. It's a very odd design, though. Never seen anything like it in my life. Especially when we're combining a bunch of stuff together, like this over here. This motion work doubles as the alarm mechanism. Usually they have a separate mechanism for this in most other clocks I've seen, but not here. Okay, now we can take all of our nuts and bolts off. This is all... Oh, no, wait, no, we can't. We gotta get these knobs off, which hopefully won't be too hard. But of course we'll see about that. So, you know, get the wooden blocks out. Yeah, I guess we'll position it like that. Something like that. Get it nice and okay there. And then... Oh, wow, that took literally no effort at all to get that alarm knob off. It was tight, but it came off really well. Okay. And so that is our alarm. Wow, this is crazy. Okay, this is, there's no washers here or anything. There's no double D washers. Yeah, this just comes off like that. That's your entire alarm shaft right there. That's your trip stuff. Oh, that spring's bending all over the place. Okay. This is now loose. Yeah, that's it for this particular piece. Huh. Usually there'd be double D washers and all kinds of stuff, and usually the knob itself would be a nightmare, of course, to take off, but it doesn't appear to be that way this time around. Oh, this one's tighter. Okay. So what I'm gonna do here is I've got a, I mean, from what I've seen, specialized washers exist, but we don't have any of that type of stuff here. We're just gonna use, oh shoot, these aren't big enough. I was gonna say we're gonna use like a nut and all that stuff. Oh, hold on, maybe this other one will be big enough. Using a nut to go, yeah, literally around that, and then prying it off, or prying it up like this, giving your screwdriver something to lever itself on. See, there we go. Yeah, that's the way that knob removal probably should be done. No scratching, no trouble there. Yeah, this is a very simple method of getting knobs off, and of course, all the force, you know, it's levering your screwdriver, and you're all set. If that makes any sense at all. Okay, and I mean, there are other ways to do that. You can do that with pliers. I've done it with pliers. Yeah, knob removal can be a nightmare, but it also can be great when it's like half, when it feels like being good. It can be good when it wants to be. It all depends on what clock you're working on. Not all the knobs are going to come off the same or be, you know, as tight as the one you did previously or something like that. Now, okay, we've got this. Let's unscrew all of this now, because I already let the spring down. I'm gonna probably put some gloves on here just in case this thing decides to completely implode on me. Although it already did that, didn't it? And there's all these little spacers. Like every single pillar has its own spacer. So that's just the way this is designed. And now this should pop apart. So I'm gonna put some gloves on for this particular moment, because if I don't, I'll probably scratch up my hands or something. Who the heck knows? If any of those springs feel like flexing out some more, then I'm cooked. Okay. Yeah, this should come off now. Why are we not doing anything? Oh, because of this seek. Oh, that's why. I need to take this clip off. Okay. There we go, off. It's in the pile of parts now. In the yeah, this is quite the ordeal here. Good thing I recorded what that all, of course, looks like, and I'm just gonna pull it out through the back as well. There we go. Yeah, completely falling apart on me here. Yeah, that's all. That's why you record what it looks like before it comes apart, because you're gonna be scrambling to get that back together. Okay, that's not too bad of a mainspring, the size-wise. The bigger the spring, the harder it is to get it wound in there by hand. I hate putting those mainsprings back in. Okay, this is good. This is good. All these guys are good. I'm gonna put them in the parts lid. There's this. This looks so bizarre. This movement. I cannot wait till it's running again. This is awesome. Blue nylon plastic gear, probably from 1972. Cannon pinion. At least, unlike the Polaris clock I worked on, at least this thing has the center wheel and cannon pinion and the slip clutch all in the right place. This is more of a sort of a typical alarm clock design. Then again, your balance wheel's over here for some reason. Okay, I'm gonna leave that on or take that off. This was just hooked around this pillar here, so I'm gonna put that out of there. And now we're ready for cleaning, basically. I'm probably going to take that cannon pinion off, or maybe I won't. It might be better that I do, because if it doesn't come off, then this wheel is going to be flip-flopping all over the place in my way. That type of thing. Yeah, I better just suck it up and take that cannon pinion off. And, of course, there's all these pieces here. This stuff. Again, the movement does not seem that dirty. There's probably tons of dirt in the springs, because that's how it always is. But otherwise, and I'll just take these off. Oh, I'm going the wrong way. Oh, yes, no, I was going the right way the first time. Okay. Okay, take that off there. And I'm going to unwind this. Or get this out of here. Turn the spring the opposite way. There we go. Or turn the wheel the opposite way. And there's your giant mainspring, which looks in, again, the spring is looking in great shape. Like when somebody tells you this stuff is old and, you know, it doesn't work anymore, well, do you know why? It may just need a very basic maintenance operation here. I mean, not everyone, I get it, not everybody wants to service clocks to the extent that I'm doing it, even if it is just a hobby. Or even if it does become like a side business or something, most, you know, not everyone wants to come in here and do this, which I understand. Because I have broken so much stuff in my wake of doing this. Actually, do I even need to take these off? I think I just will anyway. Although, actually, no, that can be kind of disorienting later. It's like I want to put this together a certain way. Yeah, I better just leave these on. There is literally no advantage to me taking that off. I'm gonna take this pillar off though, probably, because it's got the cover over the oh my goodness, the regulator lever there. Oh wow, this actually holds this together too, I think. Yeah, because suddenly this is all popping apart on me now. Okay. That's interesting. Yeah, so this is being held together by... Okay. Oh, and there's a little... That's probably where the jewel is right there. Yeah, speaking of jewels, guys, we haven't actually seen any thus far. This is a supposedly 4-jewel movement. Haven't seen a single jewel thus far. There's a regulator. Lever. There's this pillar. Okay. You can take all of that and put that here. And I'm just going to leave that with nothing. Yeah, I'm just going to leave this with these on here right now, because there's no advantage to me taking those off, so there's nothing to clean under there either. There's, you know, I can clean in here, but under these pillars, there's nothing there, so. And in the cannon pinion scenario, like, there's oil I can get to under there, so yeah, I can take that off. But with these, might as well just leave them together. And, okay, there might be a jewel in that balance cup, too. I see it's red in there. Okay. Interesting. I'll take that off. Yeah, I think that might be at least where one of the jewels is. Probably both balance cups on either side have jewels. And then I don't know where the other two could possibly be. They're probably not in the gear train. Or maybe they are. I mean, it's a 4-jewel. It's a 4-jewel movement. I know it's not some expensive thing, but then you have this in the train too, in the motion work. Really, you're gonna give me jewels, but you're also gonna give me this. I mean, I guess it's okay, right? It's not, like I said, it's not the end of the world. And I've just built some steampunk monstrosity in the corner by accident. It's a steampunk battle tank. I don't know. Anyway, you're going to give me a 4-jewel movement, and then you're just going to give me that nylon gear. I don't know what the motive idea behind that was. I guess it's like, hey, we'll save money here, and in the process, we can give you a synthetic jewel. It probably is a synthetic jewel. Maybe it's not. I don't know. I don't know how jewels necessarily work in clocks and watches. I know they're a friction reliever, but I don't know much about them themselves, like where they come from or what the process is to get them into a pivot or something. So I was trying to figure out if I should actually take the cannon pinion out of this thing or not, and I am going to. So what I'm doing is I'm making progress here. That's good. I am taking a piece of aluminum, putting it over top the center shaft there, and hammering it out that way. And I've got a Black & Decker saw, or sorry, Workmate, thank you, probably from the 1990s here. Yeah, sometimes this method can bend the center, I mean, it depends on what clock you have, but sometimes if you do this, you will completely destroy your top plate. But this seems to be thick enough brass where I can hammer on this, and it's not, you know, bending backwards or anything like that. And this is adjustable, hey? So I can mess around with this and give it, you know, adjust the space in between here. There's, you know, there's quite a bit of each plate or each side of the plate on each block of wood here. So yeah, I'm just going and doing that, and it's not destroying it. Okay, so here we are. The movement is reassembled and cleaned with ZEP 505 and then rinsed off with water and then dried with a hairdryer. The problem with, well, it can be a problem. Some of these alarm clock movements, especially, at least for me, I don't know, it gives me anxiety to work on these things sometimes because the mainsprings are so honking huge that it makes it a total pain in the neck to put this thing back together because you got these giant springs in the way. And to be completely honest with you, not removing that cannon pinion would have been a total nightmare, like to get this back together. It wasn't that hard. I had to jump through a hoop because I was getting this spring stuck around the alarm escape wheel. And also there's a pin that's riveted in right there. Had to get it around that. Again, wasn't too hard. I kind of forgot either of those things were going to be an obstacle, but we got them around. And otherwise it wasn't too bad. It fits together pretty nice. So this thing likes to flip-flop all over the place, but it's not, it's not too bad. I don't even know where that spring hooks on right now. I hope I got that in the right way. But then again, I don't even know where that goes. I should probably look into that, actually. Not having a problem with this small little spring over here. It hooks onto this pillar. We are having a problem, though, with our mainspring because I've actually just put the thing on backwards. Excellent. So, yeah, it needs to, I guess, be the other way because every time I try and wind it up, we seem to be expanding it, so that's definitely not what you want. And here we are back a long time later, aka the next day. The movement is reassembled, and boy oh boy, this was a gong show a little bit here. Getting that mainspring on the right way, of course, that was the #1 priority. And then, of course, I realized that little spring over here had to hook onto that pillar there. So I had to take it apart again to get... This thing had to come apart multiple times, mainly just because of me just putting stuff on the wrong way. Not a half bad movement. Definitely a very unorthodox design from the Soviets. And as you can see, that doesn't look quite right. Greg, why is the balance cup looking like that? Well, this thing claims to be a 4-jewel movement. There is a jewel on this end of the balance staff, and there's supposed to be one here, and then I can't find the other two. So it's a 2-jewel movement from what I've seen. Now it's a 1-jewel movement. I'll tell you what happened. the actual balance cup here, if I go grab it, where is it here? There it is. Balance cup, the cone bearing, it has multiple names. This is where the other jewel is. And you're thinking, well, Greg, okay, why would you not use this? Any attempt to get this balance wheel here with its little points on the end of the staff would be met with a completely flat surface that didn't even have a hole drilled into it. Now, unfortunately, I can't even go back and look at the video of how this thing used to be before I took it apart, because the thing, as you know, when I removed the minute hand, the balance wheel popped out of the cup, or out of the cone bearing. So I spent quite a lot of time trying to figure this out, because if you just take this, let's grab a toothpick here and pretend it's our balance staff. And unfortunately, I'm lacking a magnifier right now. That's our balance staff right there. There's no way for it to go into that balance cup or cone bearing or whatever you want to call it. So I brought this to my friend's attention because they know more about jeweled clocks and watches than I do. And I think there's a cap jewel that's missing from this. So who knows where the heck that is? I haven't seen it. It's not in the parts anywhere. There's screws. What is this here? Oh, that's the screw with the glue on it. There's nothing here that would be a cap jewel for this particular movement. So, yeah, that's just a screw there. So that kind of leaves you up the river without a paddle, basically. And I'm not sure if I'm just doing something wrong or am I missing this cap jewel, because every other alarm clock that you're ever going to work on in your entire life, or any clock with a balance wheel, is going to have cone bearings or balance cups where the balance staff just fits right in, unless it's broken or something, which, as you can see, it's very obviously not. So what the heck? And I know you can't see this because it's, you know, it's through my phone quality, and I don't have a magnifier, or at least I don't know where the magnifier is right now. But, I mean, any attempt to do this is a completely flat surface. So there's no way your balance staff is going to fit in there and then, you know, grip and stay there. It'll just fall right back out. So I'm going to keep this around. I don't know what the heck that's all about. And as for what we ended up doing, I realized, like, I'm working on another clock at the same time as this one. It's this Polaris alarm clock. And this one has that balance, the cone bearing is identical to the one that lives over, where the heck is it? That one there. It's identical to that one, except it has no jewel in it. It's the same size. So I don't want to sacrifice the Polaris for this clock. What am I going to do? Well, if you've been watching the Polaris series, you'll know that there is a 2017 reproduction of that Polaris. It's not the Polaris movement at all, actually. It's a 2017 reproduction of that movement, which I will grab now. I don't want to get too off topic here, but the point of what I'm trying to get at is this Polaris alarm clock movement is not exclusive to Polaris. It was made at least since 1931, this design, and it has tons of little variants, and there's just thousands of these things in different clocks. So it's a fairly decent movement. And as you can see, this one's, you know, it's from another series I'm working on, so that one's running okay. And this is a 2017 reproduction of not the Polaris clock, but just a twin bell alarm clock in general. And it utilizes the same exact movement that is significantly cheaper. And again, we talked more about this in the actual series for that Polaris. What I ended up noticing was that across all the movements here, the balance cone bearings or cups, if you look at them, they are, and even the balance wheels themselves, let me turn that light on. So even our balance wheels themselves here are, okay, I'll just get one more look at that. So again, there's that cup. If you look at the Allegro or Allegro, whichever way you want to pronounce that, oh, I guess this has a longer balance staff. I'll give it that. But that wheel is identical, and I think that hairspring is either similar or... Actually, that hairspring might be different. The balance wheels at least are the same. It's the same wheel, I'm thinking here. And even if it's not, I'm not gonna take everything out and compare it right now. It uses the same exact mechanism, or sorry, it is utilizing the same exact cone bearing as those Chinese movements. And so what I've done is I've taken the one off that reproduction movement and stuck it on here, and now we are off to the races. And as you can see, like, there's the tip of the staff right there, in there, and the other tip you can't see because it's inside there. But yeah, it's the strangest thing, really. Just happened to be working on the right clock at the right time, and this is the kind of results I ended up getting out of it. So very, very bizarre turn of events. I don't know why, you know, this couldn't all just be, you know, why doesn't the balance wheel just fit into this like it's supposed to? Again, nothing from that. So, yeah, I can only assume that a cap jewel is missing off of this somehow. I don't know. I don't even remember if this thing was running when I got it initially in the Alarming Antiques episode, whatever the heck. Because you'd think that if a cap jewel was missing back then, or when I got the clock, that this thing wouldn't be running at all. But again, I don't know if it was running then or not. I don't know if I somehow lost the cap jewel. I never saw it. So, and I've never seen that balance wheel in position either. That thing fell out while I was getting the minute hand off. So that was when it was in a case. That is, you know, that's nothing that I was even able to witness. So anyway, thank goodness for this movement here, and these are fun. It sucks the motion works made of plastic, but anyway, that's a subject for another video. So we've salvaged parts off a different movement, and this isn't something that you can probably do much of, by the way, guys. Like, parts that are that universal are very far between. Like, you know, these are completely different movements here that we're looking at. So, you know, this movement has been discontinued for, you know, almost half a century now. So, you know, you're not just going to find movements with parts that fit this, unless it's something as, like, incredibly universal as that cone bearing there, if that makes any sense. It's universal among these. Again, Pin Palette 20 calls these the chocolate bar movements. It's universal among these. Definitely not universal among these, although it's working. So, I don't know if somebody was getting their parts from the same supplier or they were copying each other. Who the heck knows? We're just going to go with this, and I'm going to keep that other balance cup with it. So just in, I don't know, maybe in a little plastic bag, I'll just put it inside there or something, tape it there so it doesn't move or whatever. I don't know, we'll see. But yeah, very odd happenings with this, but at least it's running. Also, another thing is the cannon pinion. That is now on again, and what ended up happening there was I took this winder, this mainspring winding tool, and since it fits this shaft and it fits around or fits under the cannon pinion, I just ended up hammering this back on, and I stuck a piece of aluminum on the back of this shaft here, and that pressed it on with little to no difficulty. So now we can continue reassembling this movement and put it back in its case and get it all set and good to go. And the reassembly continues. That is the part off the Cosmo right there. And yeah, I just gave up on the original jeweled balance cone bearing. We just went with one that fit. And for some reason now this front plate won't even fit on properly. I'm not sure what the heck I did to this poor movement, but like, I don't know. It just, there seems to be not enough room on those I don't know, I guess those pillars there. Like, these things are weird because they've got bolts on either side, And this is definitely the longer of the two sides. And yet there's hardly any room for the nuts to screw on. And they were on before. And what's even more bizarre, like I've got a dial washer in there now. There was no dial washer in this thing before. And I don't know, I thought this clock was like fully functional before I took it apart, but for some reason it just seems to not want to fit back together correctly. Like this is the third thing that has happened here, and I'm not sure what is going on. Like this is just barely threaded on. So, was it like this before? I don't believe it was. This came apart normally. I don't know what I did, but something's not right with this. My problem now is this alarm stuff over here works, but like I had to use like a Westclox dial washer to even get any of that to, you know, stay in its own lane, basically. I don't know how this was working before. All it had before was that. So I don't know what... Anyway, the bigger problem here is these spacers are seemingly almost too big. Like, there's not enough room for this to even thread on. So I'm half tempted to just cut these down. These come off, by the way. Like, if you take those nuts off, those spacers pop off. So I'm half tempted to shorten them a bit and go from there. We're back, and we've straightened some things around here. This clock was also, weirdly enough, not fitting onto this this dial pan. It was the strangest thing. And what I ended up having to do was shorten the spacers that are in between the plates and the pillar nuts. Yep, I tried absolutely everything, but with the spacers at their original length, there wasn't even enough thread for any... Well, that one was able to just barely go on, but nothing else was even able to thread on. And honestly, I could probably remove even more off of those spacers, but I didn't. I have no idea how this was assembled, and it worked. Like honestly, guys, there I put a dial washer in behind the alarm hand too, or the alarm pipe. Sorry, I have a spare one because like nothing was lining up correctly. Nothing was. It was truly the oddest thing. I don't know how this was functional before I came in here. So unless I'm missing pieces or just building it wrong, I couldn't tell you. Anyway, it's ready to go back in the case now. The alarm works. This is all mounted on here now. And yeah, definitely not the ideal things that you'd want to happen during a service, but like there was absolutely no indicator that anything was built wrong, or at least by me anyway. You know, these pillars weren't, because you can flip them over if you really want to. They weren't on backwards. There was nothing, just for some reason, it was just not fitting on. I don't know why. So, anyways, we should be good now. But yeah, I don't like modifying stuff when, you know, it was perfectly fine beforehand. I know that sounds ridiculous, but, and again, I've been over this thing like a lot. I think I've probably spent like 6 hours on this clock in total now. And yeah, I've got no idea for that particular thing. So I think it's just time to reassemble it. And we're back with more tomfoolery. I've added a washer in front of that hour pinion because it wasn't in the right spot. It was too far forward. So, like, I don't know what the heck is going on with this clock, you guys. Next time I do one of these things, like, I'm going to be extra careful and make sure I know exactly where everything goes, because it's all back in the right spot. I just have no idea why things aren't lining up correctly for some reason. Couldn't tell you. And also, this knob is giving me trouble here, too, because it's lost some of its tension. It's gripping now, but if you pull on it, you could pull that thing off. And, yeah. So, I'm just rolling with it like this now. Otherwise, guys, I mean, this is oiled already. It's been running for a full day now. Every pivot was oiled. The escape wheel teeth got oiled. The balance staff, both cone bearings got oiled. The impulse pin got oiled, which is that pin right there, swinging back and forth. All the pivots on the other side have been oiled. The escape wheel teeth have been oiled. The mainsprings have been oiled. The click springs have been oiled on both of these. Everything, again, anywhere where there's friction, I dab some oil. Even the regulator lever, I dabbed a little bit of oil on that, because that is going to be moving back and forth over time. as this thing is adjusted. And of course the the slip clutch and the center wheel, which is that clutch that has the knob on the back of it, and it basically makes it able for you to set the hands. That's more or less what that does. So yeah, anywhere things are moving and there's friction, that's where I've oiled. So now we can put it back together. Okay, so we've reached a point with the Allegro where I'm satisfied with it. Lots of strange goings on with this clock. I have no idea what the heck was happening. As you know, wasn't fitting together properly. Mainspring complications. Yeah, pretty minor stuff. This thing did not run accurately worth a dime when I first assembled it. So the hairspring had to be adjusted. I believe it was running too slow on every single speed conceivable. So hairspring adjustments were made. This is really making me contemplate running clocks before I service them for a while, just to see how they perform at all. Because with something like this, if it's running too fast or too slow, it's completely useless. I've found the happy medium now, but, you know, that still doesn't make up for, like, the past 20 years, no doubt. Probably actually even longer than that, where it was just not running accurately at all. It was either too fast or too slow, and what good's a clock if it's going to do either of those things? Like, you know, you can set the regulator to full... Oh, you can see my reflection there. And you can see missing tiles in the ceiling. Isn't that great? What was I saying? Oh, yeah. If you crank up the speed all the way and it's running too slow, or if you crank the speed down all the way and it's still running too fast, well, you know, you're not getting anywhere there. Not going anywhere fast. Let's wind this guy up. It's a smooth runner. I was a little surprised, actually. These Allegros are pretty good. Okay. I was going a little too hard there. Okay, let's set our alarm here. Oh yeah, and there's this button here on top to turn it off and on. And I'm not going to reset the time because that is the actual time right now. I don't feel like playing around with that. We're just going to go and do this. So that's how you shut the alarm off. And then I believe you can, if you just adjust this, sorry. If you adjust this... Oh, and the knob's playing hard to get now. Yeah, this knob isn't the greatest back here. It's kind of, I feel like it maybe, okay, well now it's got grip again. Yeah, okay. Oh, yeah, this knob, I don't know. It's, oh, if I pull it out, maybe it'll work better. Yeah, it's kind of screwy, just saying. Not the greatest alarm knob I've ever seen in my life. Usually these things are so impossible to get off. This thing is the complete polar opposite of that, where it doesn't even want to grip the shaft that much. But it does work. It may take a little bit of extra effort, but I think with these Allegros, this is their kind of fault right here, based on another Allegro. It was actually the same exact model I saw on a local auction site, where the alarm knob was completely missing altogether. Had everything else except for that knob. So, anyway, I've kept you here long enough. This clock is a unique design. I used to hate it at first. Now I actually kind of like it. Isn't that funny how these things work? The design is something. I'll give it that. It's from the 70s too. It's mid-century. Very late mid-century. It's weird. It's doing 1950s mid-century in the 70s. It's not doing 70s mid-century. It's doing 50s mid-century in the 70s, if that makes any logical sense at all. Yeah, there's... I'm not going to get into designs right now, but there is a lot of different variants of you could call it Art Deco, or, well, couldn't call this Art Deco, but we'll just use Art Deco for an example. There's many different variants of it, so... Anyway, as I said, kept you here long enough. This is the Allegro. It works fine now, and she's ready to go. The forge jewel thing, yeah, I assume it's missing that cup jewel. I've got no better explanation for that. It is really strange. I'd kind of like to work on another one just to see, if it's missing pieces or pieces are broken or something. But anyway, it'll have to wait a while. Thank you guys for watching.